Good morning, everyone. It's Fed League Flash time here on YouTube, and it is Saturday, the 6th of September, and we are just 34 days away from the start of the season. Just a little over a month. Actually, camps are going to be starting roughly a week and a half before that time, so teams are just about ready and prepared to go into camp. All right, today I just want to kind of get caught up on some stuff, talk about a couple of things that I mentioned on Facebook, but kind of like to delve into it a little bit more as far as some topics and whatnot. So let's start off with rebranding. Okay, rebranding is something that is not that uncommon in hockey. You do have teams like the Montreal Canadiens, who have basically kept their look for decades. And then you do have some other teams. For example, what comes to mind is the Anaheim Ducks. They started off with the Disney mask, the Disney duck mask. Changed that in the early 2000s to just like the Web D. A lot of people said they didn't really like that, but the team kept that image for a dozen years, and then just recently went back to a revised version of the duck mask, and people loved it. So new color scheme, but anyway, you know you can say what you will. Nobody likes change, but change is something that we who are fans of minor pro hockey have to face, because change happens more often on this level than it does in, say, the NHL. But anyway, sometimes a rebrand is a necessity. So I just want to talk about some of the rebrands that happened, some of the new looks that we're going to be looking at. I know we touched a little bit on it with the Breakers, but we're going to revisit it here. So last season, we had one team that did a rebrand. Columbus went from their dragon logo to just the C with the claw. And you had several new teams. You had Hudson Valley / HC Venom. You had the Dashers. Dashers had to do a rebrand from what they had in their first iteration due to some legalities. Monroe, Athens, both new teams, which I think their looks are pretty good. So every now and then you have to tweak things. You have to change things, make it different. Now, Watertown went through a voluntary rebrand. They didn't have to rebrand, but they wanted to. They wanted to add red into their logo to closely symbolize a link with the military community. Fort Drum, right there by Watertown, very large facility, and a very integral part of Watertown itself. So the Wolves wanted to honor that. They added the red. It's different. A lot of people in the past complained that they thought that the previous logo looked too much like the University of Connecticut, Connecticut Huskies. So yeah, we don't have that now. This is starting to grow on me, by the way. I still am not crazy about the amount of red, but just like the position of the head and everything, it's growing on me. Now, Biloxi, they had to change. They didn't have a choice. They could no longer be called the Mississippi Seawolves. And after the way things developed over the 3 years that the Mississippi Seawolves, SPHL, existed, I think making a clean break from that and embracing a new identity was a good thing anyway. It's reflective on reflective of the new ownership and the new management, tying in more closely with the fans, with the community, and it's a fresh start. Obviously, things did not go well with the Mississippi Seawolves in the 3 years that they existed, so the Breakers wanted to, move on, and kind of go forward from that. I think they did a good job, and if you've looked at their web store, which is now open, and yeah, I think it's a good look. Now, the change that was just announced a couple days ago that was coming, I knew about this since right after the finals. The Carolina Thunderbirds do have to rebrand again. Both of these were a Barry Soskin thing. Soskin wanted to request a ton of money for the team to retain their previous identities, and both teams said, you got to be kidding, that's an insane amount of money. It's actually cheaper to rebrand. So yes, rebranding does cost money, but again, sometimes it's an investment in the future. So with the Thunderbirds, yes, they're going to be the Thunderbirds still, but it's going to be the Twin City Thunderbirds, or Twin Cities Thunderbirds. And a logo and a jersey reveal will be done on September 24th. Again, this was a necessity, but they still wanted to retain their identity with the hockey community. A lot of people look at the Thunderbirds as a very good organization, and they are. So they didn't want to do a complete name change, a complete revision. So it's more of a tweak. You're just going from Carolina to Twin City, and it does seem to narrow things down a little bit, but at the same time, you're not, by giving it a designation Twin City as opposed to just saying Winston-Salem Thunderbirds, it still kind of gives a wide area kind of idea to it. So anyway, sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes you have to do it. And in the case of Biloxi and Carolina, they had to do it. So we'll see what goes on moving forward. I want to touch a little bit on the trades that happened over the last few days and get caught up on them, because again, I wasn't able to spend time, really getting into that. Columbus and Watertown. Now, the part of this, I don't want to give too much information about players' personal lives, so I'm still going to keep things extremely vague here, as best as I can. Trading Nick Golo from Columbus to Watertown, plus some financial considerations for Kevin Sabad. No disrespect to Nick Golo, but as a point scorer, Kevin Sabad is the better player. And so I think that's part of the reason why the financial considerations were also thrown in. But Nick Golo is, I think this trade's going to actually benefit both teams. Now, Kevin Zabad, as some of you may know, originally he was going to be playing for the PD Ice Cats this year. His wife is from that area. He thought they were going to be settling down, putting down roots there, and then he gets traded to Watertown. That's a long way away from Florence, South Carolina. So now he gets moved to Columbus, which is still about a 6-hour drive away, but it's closer. So that's good. And I think Zabad is going to fit in better with Columbus anyway, with the offense that they have there. For Nick Golo, he's a gritty guy. He's a face-off specialist. He's a guy that just plays with a lot of heart, a lot of grit, makes other players better. So I think this trade benefits both parties involved. So I like this deal. The hat tricks and the Sentinels. Okay, the Sentinels, they need someone like Panovanov to anchor the defense. It's a very, very young team. They need some people who have some Fed experience to help lead the way. And the hat tricks have a lot of defensemen that they have either returning or they have signed coming out of college, players with high pedigrees. So that works. And coming the other way, Austin Belfay, he's going to be a good fit for scoring depth for the hat tricks. I think the Sentinels' biggest need is defense, so really prioritizing Panovanov, not over Belfay, but prioritizing Ivan. I think that is a good move. And for the hat tricks, again, they get some scoring depth, secondary scoring, a lot of speed as well. So I think that'll be good. And then the final trade, Athens and Carolina. Again, I don't want to get into a whole lot of details, but Carolina fans, Dawson was not going to be playing for the Thunderbirds this year. It wasn't going to happen. So that's why initially when Athens printed the trade on their end, they said we've obtained the rights to Dawson Bacon because they weren't sure if he was going to be playing or not either. So anyway, going the other way, Kyle Russell, good defenseman, and Jagger Benson, very interested to see what he does. He's highly regarded. So Carolina picked up 2 players for one that wasn't going to be on the team anyway. So I know a lot of you feel like the Thunderbirds got shafted on it. They really didn't. They didn't. And Athens, if Baker does decide to play, then Athens got themselves a depth player, someone to put on the second line. So, this is one of those deals that the hand was kind of forced. It had to happen in some shape. So there you go. You make the best of it. You try and get something of value in return, which Carolina, you definitely did. Excuse me, Twin Cities, you definitely did. So we'll see what happens. But I'm very interested to see how these two respond in camp, how they fit in. I would think that Russell would end up making the lineup, and I think Benson is going to as well. We'll see what happens. All right, the final thing I want to talk about is rule changes. And as of right now, the Fed is not doing this, but I've said in the past, maybe they should. Talking about the over and back rule. Actually, before I get into that and into this diagram here, yes, I'm going all dashers this morning, rebrand team. I wanted to talk about the other big change that the SPHL made, and I think this is a really, really huge decision. This creates so much more positive possibilities. All right, the SP has said that they are going to allow 19 to dress. Okay, so your roster is 20, you dress 19. Right now, or last season, both the Fed and the SP, 18. As of right now with the Fed, it's still 18. But to be able to add a 19th person onto your bench, guy dressed, ready to go, ready to take a shift, I think this is huge. Now, first of all, you're allowing your players to rest up a little bit more. Maybe instead of 36 minutes on ice, it's cut down to like 33 or 32. All right, for your top players, which is good for health and safety. Hockey is a violent game, and so to be able to rotate your players out more frequently. That is going to help in that regard, keep your players a lot more fresh. And also, you could create more possibilities. You can have your two goaltenders. You have your starter, you have your backup. You could have either 10 or 11 forwards. You could have 6 or 7 D-men. Just to create a little bit more strategy, depending on maybe on the opponent you're playing that day. You could do so much more. And plus, this creates more jobs as well. That's the other big thing. I'm hoping that the SPHL will have seen, oh, the SPHL is doing this. All right, we're also single A. Let's keep pace. Let's do this. I'm really hoping. I think that'll make a huge difference. I think we'll see less injuries with 19 as opposed to 18. I think we'll see a lot more versatility. I think we'll see teams playing better quality hockey. So that, I think, is actually the bigger of the two. But this is something that everybody talks about, the over and back. And what we mean by the over and back, you've seen it. Two teams are tied at the end of regulation. They go into the 3 versus 3 overtime. And usually that is a puck possession game. Teams want to focus on controlling the puck, holding the puck, not giving these guys an opportunity to even touch the puck, because the thought is if they can't get to the puck, they can't score. Okay, that's true. But it's also a little conservative, a little safe. Whereas, the whole idea of cutting it down to 3 versus 3 as opposed to 5 versus 5 was to create more opportunities. Well, if you're just holding the puck and circling the puck and skating with the puck and pass, there's not much happening. You're not creating more opportunities. The goal is you get to overtime, you want to win, you want to get that extra point, and your chances of winning in overtime are better than your chances of winning in the shootout, because shootout is a crapshoot. You could have a hot goalie. You could have a shooter just not feeling it that day. A lot could go wrong in a shootout. A lot can go right, but a lot can go wrong. This is more of a control your own destiny type of thing. All right, you have these guys have the puck. All right, say the guy in green is the puck handler. All right, so the over and back rule. Basically, once the puck and the team is past this blue line, their own blue line, they cannot retreat back here. They do. It's kind of like an offsides or an icing. And then what would happen is if this guy crosses back into his own zone, the play is whistled dead. The face-off comes back here in the defensive zone, and now these guys have the chance to win the face-off, get a couple of good shots on the goalie. Yeah, that's a risk that really you don't want to take. You want to control your own destiny. So you want to stay. There is, from here to here, that's a lot of room. Okay, I actually wish that the teams or the league would have said the red line is the border. You crossed back behind the red line, and nope, face off. Initially, I think the first couple of weeks, yes, I know people have expressed this concern to me. Yeah, I think you're going to see more face-offs, more stoppages of play and face-offs as players get used to this. But players adapt pretty quickly. So I think by the time you get to the end of October, I think teams will have this worked out and figured out, and they're going to get their system so they're not retreating. All right, so there's a difference between resettling things, and again, even in this zone, even if you're just in the defensive zone, or in the offensive zone, as the case would be. All right, this is still a lot of room. Blue line to the boards. So I don't see the benefit really in doing this drifting back and just holding the puck and circling around and wasting time. The only benefit is possibly you're tiring this team out there because it requires more effort to play defense than it does offense. You're tiring these guys out faster than these three guys are getting tired. But that's really about it. The objective is you want to put a lot of pressure on the other team's goalie. This was the whole idea with 3-on-3 overtime. You want to get that pressure on. You want to get shots on early and often. So because the more pucks you put on net, the better your chance is of scoring and winning the game. So I like this rule a lot. Again, I personally wish they had tweaked it to the red line, but for now, it's a blue line. Now, the NHL has talked about doing this. There's been a lot of communication. The NHL hasn't done it yet. But this is good that the SPHL has taken the initiative and said, we'll try this system out. We'll give it a go and see how it goes. I think the results are going to be very positive, and I hope that the SPHL decides we're going to do the same thing. That is my hope. I am not a big fan of shootouts. I know some fans love it, but I think it's just kind of trivial to settle a 65-minute game, and you've already played 65 minutes, and then you go into a shootout, and it's just it's a skills competition rather than a team game at this point. So I like this concept, trying to generate more possibilities of the game ending in overtime and not going to the shootout. It's not going to eliminate the shootout by any means, but I think you'll see a lot less games in the SP go to the shootout. And I think you're going to see a lot of excitement generated by, three players. Now, they have a lot of open ice, having a little bit more urgency in their game. So, and this also adds a little bit of urgency for the defensive team too. These guys are going to be a little bit more aggressive in their forecheck. If knowing these guys can't drift all the way back into their own end. So it's going to create more possibilities, a better flow of play, I believe. So again, first couple of weeks may be rough. And I think after that, everything is going to iron out. So anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to talk about. Again, I hope that the Fed does this. As of recording, it's just like last year, but we'll see. All right, we got 5 weeks to go, or roughly 5 weeks to go before the start of the season. So that's a good amount of time for the executive board, for the league, and the board of governors to meet and say, hey, should we do this? And decide. Okay, so that is today's video. Tomorrow, we're going to be at it. I forgot what my topic is, but I have it written down in my notebook. So anyway, tune in for that. Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about looking at teams. How similar are they from last year? Have they made a lot of changes? Is that a good thing? We'll look at it team by team. All right, I am Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. Please make sure to follow me on Facebook. That's where all the news gets posted as it happens. And of course, make sure you hit like and subscribe here. Deeply appreciate it. All right, I am Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash, and we will see you tomorrow.